Is there anyone here who wishes to speak to the council on matters that are on today's agenda? Seeing none, we'll proceed with the agenda. We have no docket approval, but we do have a summary to approve. Is there a motion? Second. Have a motion by Councilmember Beard and a second by Councilmember Ellinger to approve the summary. Any discussion? Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. We have no budget amendments. We do have several items of new business for your consideration. Is there a motion to approve those items? The motion by Councilmember Blues. Is there a second? A second by Councilmember Henson. Any discussion? Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you, Mayor. I did have one question on new business, and it has to do with item U. This is the engineering services agreement for the EPA consent decree work. And Charlie, I have been out of town and didn't have a chance to call you about this, but it looks to me like in this item and that we would be using sanitary sewer fees for stormwater. Is that correct?
No, ma'am.
Explain to me then.
Right now, we have an existing contract with Tetra Tech that has been part of the ongoing stormwater management stuff for the last several years. What limited stormwater work that they're doing for us right now is coming out of that contract. A lot of the stuff they're doing for us right now is on the sanitary end of it for these early term deliverables. You notice about midway down or near the bottom of that very first paragraph, it says future task orders along with a separate purchase order will be requested to fully develop and implement stormwater program compliance documents. In the mayor's proposed budget, there is, off the top of my head, somewhere close to $1.2 million in professional services appropriations to pay for that task order.
This?
Yes.
Well, now,
so we're not mixing and mingling funds.
What about the previous sentence? Funds for the initial task orders are not budgeted but are reflected in the 2008 sanitary sewer financial model.
Right.
Which was the basis for the increased sewer user fee.
That's correct. As you recall, when we did the rate increase here back in February of this year, we had asked for sanitary sewer program management funds, which were not budgeted in the FY08 budget because we didn't know where we were with the consent decree. So what we're doing is we're paying for this out of unbudgeted but monies that were approved in the rate increase for the sanitary sewer. I think I've lost my mic here.
So
can you hear me?
Just barely, but so are the initial task orders related then specifically to sanitary sewer tasks, not stormwater?
They are both. They're related to both sanitary and storm, okay? The sanitary stuff is being paid for out of the sanitary sewer fund,
okay,
out of what is currently unbudgeted funds.
Okay.
The stormwater stuff is being paid for out of an existing PO that was cut at the beginning of this fiscal year.
I see.
That was already in place.
Okay, so you've
and
divided.
Right, that's bridging the gap, and that doesn't begin to scratch the surface on the long-term needs. Thus, the comment about future task orders on a separate new PO, which will utilize the money, assuming that the council approves the mayor's FY09 budget.
Well, let me ask you this then. If, as everybody knows, these are dedicated fees, so if, in fact, in the future, a stormwater fee does get approved, then will you have some, realizing that the sanitary and the stormwater are going to be very closely intertwined on a lot of things, will you have a way to track each fund, making sure that the dedicated sanitary sewer funds go to sanitary sewer and that stormwater go to stormwater?
Well, clearly, Commissioner Coe is going to have a big role in determining that. In utilities that I've worked for before, traditionally are water and sewer, you have a formula that you're using for that, because if you've got maintenance workers that are repairing both water mains and sewer lines, you use kind of a formula instead of having them break out every hour of every day and bill it to particular ones. But other things that are very clearly defined, if you're doing a sanitary sewer flow monitoring study, you're going to bill that 100% back to that sewer fund.
Okay, well, I think we owe that to the sewer user and stormwater user fee, the people paying it,
Clearly.
Okay.
We're always very cognizant about,
Right.
who's paying for what and all that, and being protective of the sewer fund and all that, because we know we have a lot of obligations, and we've got to stretch those dollars a long way. So we're very, very conscious
Very
of that.
good, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Blevins.
Thank you, Mayor. I want someone to speak to us briefly about item M and explain what this is all about. I guess Commissioner Taylor, if you're available. As you're walking up, if you could just walk us through what's the need for this particular item. I'm not clear on what action you're asking us to take.
This particular item is in our office. We don't have any administrative help. We've had a temp person. That position is going to end in a couple months, and we just wanted to put a person back in that position to provide administrative service for the office.
Maybe this is my rookie counsel still showing. Why is the council authorization needed to do that?
My understanding of this is that the commissioner wanted to try to fill the position internally. And there's an interpretation being used by the folks in Human Resources, and I actually called about this one when I saw it, that says that if we want to advertise internally only, that requires the approval of council.
Okay.
So we are now asking the Department of Law to take a look at that, because it makes little sense to me that we keep coming back to you, particularly in the coming year when we're not going to be filling very many positions, and probably we're going to want to fill from within every time we can, that we come back to you every time that we want to fill internally. So we may be bringing something to you on that particular issue, but right now it's an interpretation of KRS 67A.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Does any other council member have questions? Councilmember Stinnett.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Cole, before you leave, on number 2, or on B, I understand what we're doing here, but the last line, it says will be included in the FY 2009 budget. Does that mean we did include it, it's already in there, or you will be bringing us back that information on the late item list? Which, the way it reads to me, it's another $22,000 we have to add into the budget.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Bennett.
Oh, thank you. No problem.
This is one of those actions that will be coming to you as a late item.
Yeah, so it's not in there yet.
It's not in there. It's a personnel action that was taken since the original budget was put together.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion or questions? Seeing none, those in favor of approving the items of new business, please let it be known by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. It gets us down to item 6, which is an update of the Committee of the Whole. Vice Mayor Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. The Committee of the Whole met today. The Committee of the Whole is meeting to review the Mayor's proposed budget. And today's meeting, we had reports from 3 of our links committees. And our next meeting will be next Tuesday at 11 o'clock. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Stinnett.
I know earlier we asked for all the council members' additions outside of the link recommendations to be given to Jerry by Tuesday. Are we also asking for the administration's late item list that we just talked about to be given to us by Tuesday? Because we're running down to crunch time here, if that's going to be considered. I don't know what the time frame you all would like, Mayor, but we need, if there's any additions, we need to consider them as soon as possible.
Commissioner Coe. I'll ask you to come back to the podium if you would, since you're more familiar with the status of all these. Essentially, the question, as I understand it, is can we have all of our late items to the council by next Tuesday? Is that correct?
That would be fine, or at what date so we can consider them?
Next Tuesday will be fine with us. In fact, I had spoken to Vice Mayor Gray right before this meeting about the issue also of I had promised to come to you all with revised revenue and expenditure estimates, and we need to make arrangements for that as well. So if next Tuesday you want everything, I think that's going to push the meeting that you have and the time frame, but
And that's why I bring that up, because we ratify the budget on the 17th, and we're just getting this information on the 10th. It's just not going to be enough time if we're just meeting Tuesday for 2 hours and then Thursday night at 5. So I don't know if we need to move Tuesday up or move Thursday, the 5 o'clock Thursday up earlier, but that's a lot of information to get at the last minute. Just food for thought.
Well, we settled on Tuesday at 11. Would we be able to take it through Tuesday and then determine on after Tuesday about Thursday? Yeah. But why don't we then we need to encourage as soon as possible on the information from the Commissioner Cole, right? Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Any further questions or comments for Vice Mayor Gray? Seeing none, we'll move along to council reports. Councilmember Blues.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I move to approve the NDF list.
Have a motion by Councilmember Blues and a second by Councilmember McCord to approve the NDF. Any discussion? Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
I have an announcement of three Great American Cleanup operations on Saturday, June 7th. The Georgetown Street Neighborhood Association will assemble at 8 a.m. in the O'Rear Center. For further information on that, please call Michael Haskins at 425-9950. The St. Martin Village Neighborhood Association's Great American Cleanup will be the same day. Robert Jefferson will have information on that, 252-1203. And the Oakwood Neighborhood Association, also on June 7th. Contact the Neighborhood Association Ben Bell, Neighborhood Association President Ben Bell at 253-9152. Finally, Mayor and council members, I'd like to offer congratulations to my legislative aide, Georgetta Gill, and to her twin daughter and son. It's a special spring for them. Georgetta's daughter, Dina, graduated from Midway College a few weeks ago with a degree in business and accounting, and her son, Dean, Dina's brother, is graduating this week from Princeton University with a degree in civil engineering. So I'm proud of mother and children. Thank you, Mayor. That's my report.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Henson.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to announce that Gulfview Estates Neighborhood Association is having an annual neighborhood yard sale Saturday, June 7th, and it'll last all day. Thank you.
Councilmember Blevins.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of motions that came out of our council link meetings. The first one is I make a motion to place into the Budget and Finance Committee after the budget process a review of our interfund transfers, and I'd like for that to occur in the August or later time frame. So moved.
Have a motion by Councilmember Blevins and a second by Councilmember Lane. Any discussion? Those in favor, please vote aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Second motion is to create a task force comprised of the existing budget link of myself, Councilmember DeCamp, and Councilmember James to continue our work with waste management in an effort to implement their efficiency procedures and policies and changes. So moved.
Have a motion by Councilmember Blevins and a second by Councilmember Lane. Any discussion? Those in favor of creating that task force indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Councilmember Crosby.
Yes, I just want to announce tonight at 6:30 at Crossroads Christian Church, the Charlesburg Neighborhood Association will be having their ice cream social, which of course I will be attending. And also at Jacobson Park on Friday nights, free Friday fun flicks have started. So come out and watch some free movies. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Councilmember McCord.
Thank you, Mayor. Last Thursday, we in Lexington made national news, not necessarily in a good way. Front page of the paper and on CNN and a number of other outlets, it was reported that we have the largest carbon footprint in America, and we're the worst city for that. And it's kind of hard to argue that when the Brookings Institute is the source of that. But when I looked at that article, I saw tremendous opportunity. And not only from the standpoint of infill and redevelopment, but also from trails to help reduce your carbon emissions and so forth like that. But this council has been wrestling with economic development, job creation. The Brookings Institute literally just handed us one of our platforms, and what I would tender as probably what this government could focus its energies on, could focus its resources on, and actually follow what Austin has done with their Chamber of Commerce, which is when we go and study them, you'll see that the monies that they had given their chamber were specifically geared towards creating environmental jobs. And that's what the city government asked the chamber to do for them and to report to them and so forth. That article on Thursday basically allowed us the opportunity to engage Brookings at no cost to tell us where to look for job creation. The opportunity to lure social entrepreneurs to our city, to lure researchers and the type of knowledge-based young professionals to help solve the carbon footprint of Lexington, Kentucky, is possibly one of the greatest opportunities we've been handed, and we should not overlook that. And as we talk about economic development and where we should focus and so forth like that, we have had a tremendous opportunity just laid in our lap. In the next 3 days, those of us that will be in Austin on the Chamber's leadership trip, I would encourage you to look at how they use their resources in partnership with their chamber to go after environmental type jobs. I believe it's a model for what we can do as a city government. So you can always look at the glass as half empty or half full. I look at last Thursday as one of the greatest opportunities for some of the things that are important to folks up here. So I look forward to following that to fruition. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Stevens.
I've had several complaints from citizens about yard signs. And I know that we used to have an ordinance that governed political yard signs and other types of yard signs. And I understand that part of that was ruled unconstitutional, but I was curious if the law department can give us an update on what parts of that ordinance are still pertinent and what aren't. For example, I know that signs are not legal in the right-of-way. I think that's still true. And I know there's no longer any determination on how long they can be there. Though common decency would suggest they ought to come down a few months after somebody loses. But and other aspects of it. But I just wanted a rundown. I looked at the sign ordinance, but it's so long and full of information that I couldn't figure out where the political sign stood.
Commissioner Askew, if you could follow up with Councilmember Stevens on that note, I think it would be information that would be of interest to us all.
Yes, and I think the public needs to know about it too, because you know, sometimes they get tired of seeing all these signs pop up in the right-of-way when they know they're not legal. And it doesn't help a candidate, I don't think, to place his signs illegally, or her signs. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Does any other council member wish to report? See none. That'll move us on to the mayor's report. We have none. So the last item on the agenda is comment on any issue that is not on the agenda. Does anyone wish to address the council? See none. Is there a motion to adjourn? All right. Thank you. If you could give us your name and address, you'll have 3 minutes, please.
My name is Eric Patrick Marr, and I live in Tamworth, Manowar, Taste Creek. Graduated Taste Creek High School in 1991, went to Purdue University, mechanical engineering. Design engineer for Toyota in Ann Arbor, Michigan for a while. Been gone for 16 years, been back here for 1 year. I'm a facilitator for Destination 2040. And to Councilmember McCord's comments, and for my beating heart right now, you'll see my take on Lexington beyond yard signs and great things like that. It's about people. I'm sorry. And we have beautiful horse farms. We talk about those things. We talk about buildings. We talk about hotels. We talk about water and roads. We talk about all these things. But I want to go beyond the surface for my 2.5 minutes left. A city and a globe and a planet or organization is about people. And Lexington has a history, very long history, of disengaging its people, especially its top people, its top students, its top leaders, its thought leaders, especially in this creative economy where thought leaders are leaving Lexington and not coming here. Next page, please. I have just in my own small circle, a 5-minute list. You can't see that, but I have a whole list, probably about 15 names there. Last names like Chan, Hammond, Greer, Krause, Mattingly, lots of people who have dual degrees, who have PhDs, who left Lexington to go to other cities, other universities, because there's no opportunities, very few opportunities here in Lexington to create a great professional life. Yeah, we have a great place for families, and we all love that. We have the beautiful landscape, and we all love that. But if you want to make Lexington the best and answer all of your questions and solve all the problems, it's about this. It's about bringing people together. It's about bringing the thought leaders, the ones who can see beyond the surface, bringing them together and creating an environment where people who are leaders and not maintainers can come to Lexington, and these are our products. These are people that we created, our school systems created, yet they leave because of better opportunities and bigger, brighter futures. You can't read that, but the next page, please. How much time do I have left? And so just talking to different people around the areas, talking to social entrepreneurs, talking to people who have left here and who are frustrated, and those who are disengaged who still live here, and just sort of just have to settle down in their status quo. They all say the same thing when I do my 2040 stuff, when I just talk to people in general. It's always the same thing. Just there's no sense of community. There's no glue. There's no this. It's everybody fighting for themselves. It's a bunch of individuals wearing the same jersey but not on the same team. And beyond everything else, that I believe, and you can hear it in my voice and my heartbeat probably, that is the answer, is not fighting for territory, but fighting for the team, fighting for the whole entire thing. And then you bring the ideas out. Then you don't have to fight for who's right and who's wrong, but you fight for what's best. And I got several books here. Who's Your City? Richard Florida just came out. Talks about Lexington being a city. It's a great place to live, but consistently loses its top talent. I'll say that. And then finally, this book here that one of the attendees at one of my 2040 meetings gave to me freely. It's called Tapping the Power of City Hall to Build Equitable Communities by different people. And San Jose's deputy mayor asked about these collaborative, facilitating, engaging environments. Who's going to do it? If not City Hall, then who's going to do it? And so City Hall is not the answer, but it's part of the answer. And it's the only one who can combine everybody and bring everybody together to solve the problem. I just wanted to say that. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Marr. Does anyone else wish to address the council? Seeing none, is there a motion we adjourn? You can take your pick on who made the motion and have a second from Councilmember McCord. All in favor, let me know by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. We'll see you in Austin.